Welcome to COPcast. I'm Rumbi Chakamba, Associate Editor at Devex, and I've headed to Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt for this year's United Nations Climate Conference. In this podcast series, we bring you inside the walls of the Blue Zone for a series of in-depth conversations with climate and development leaders, asking them the big questions. What's really needed to make meaningful progress towards climate goals, and what role should the development community play to support that?
As young people, I think this is a time that we really have to do what we can to just make sure that we take center stage.
Climate change impacts everyone, but for many young people, it represents the risk of a stolen future. According to the World Bank, by the time many teenage climate activists of today are in the late 20s, climate change could force an additional 100 million people into extreme poverty. My next guest, Jessica Bwali, is a young activist who uses her personal experience to help people in Zambia understand the impact of climate change and advocates for youth inclusion in the climate discourse. Jessica, you're here at COP as a climate activist, and I believe you got into activism because of your personal experience with climate change.
Yes.
Can you take me through a little bit about that?
So thank you for having me. I'm Jessica Bwali. I'm the Global Campaigns Associate for Tier Fund, and I'm from Zambia. So Zambia currently right now is one of the countries that is receiving the worst effects of climate crisis. So sometime in 2019, I think in Zambia we had the first and massive load shedding. They were actually even calling it load management because it was really massive in that we would only have power for like 6 hours, and the other time there's no power, and that was like the whole country. So what they used to do was they would cut, if you have power in the morning, like maybe during the day, for 6 hours, and it will mean that the rest of the day there won't be any power. And that was attributed to the fact that around that time we didn't have enough rainfall, and in Zambia we use hydro for power. We have a dam called the Kariba Dam that generates power for the whole country and also some of the neighboring countries that we export power to. So in 2019 the Kariba Dam was at its lowest when it comes to water levels. So some of the machinery could not work because of the water levels, they were so low. So what they did was to try and save the machinery, they had to switch them. So by switching them down, it meant that they had to cut power. So there was so much, there was a little actually that was distributed around the whole country. And that time I had just recently moved to another province called the Northwestern Province, and I was doing the breakfast show every day with a radio station called Solwezi Radio. So literally every day on the radio I'll get calls, people asking why are we having load shedding, and the unfortunate part was I thought it was the same. It was being politicized. We're thinking it's just politics, they're just either trying to fix people that didn't vote for who, or they're trying to teach people to vote for who. It was really chaos. It was chaotic.
So you had to debunk a lot of myths?
Exactly. And look, the situation was like every day on radio, and the funny part is everybody thinks you know everything when you're on radio. And I would get no answers when I'm asked that, and I would be asked literally every morning when I'm on radio, we don't have power in this place, or when it doesn't matter what topic I'll be having, but there will be at least more than 5 people that will call on that show and asking why they don't have power. And it started to make me look like I didn't know what I was doing, like literally every day. And I thought to myself, like, okay, this is really true. Let me find out. So I started making calls. I started making calls to the relevant authorities, and I only realized to say it had nothing to do with politics. It was all due to climate change. That time, just because we didn't have the rainfall that we would normally have, and because the machineries they couldn't risk them running on low water, they had to shut them. And the more that I asked questions, the more I got intrigued, the more I wanted to find out. So from that time, I think I would have at least a news piece on climate issues every day. And the more that I did more research, the more I found out how much businesses, a lot of young people lost around that time, how much a lot of SMEs, the small business owners, closed down. So it was really bad, and because of that, I thought, let me just try and get to find out more. And I started reading more. I started getting to hear of other people's experiences by maybe watching online, getting to do more research. I think from there, that's where the zeal or the interest, first of all, started from. Like, I want to, the fact that I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people that could listen to me on radio. I thought, let me use this as my, let me take advantage of this and do the right thing, because many people are ignorant about it, yet they're affected a lot. And in that area where I was, there are a lot of farmers. So you can imagine people that literally live on food that comes from the field directly to the table. And around that time, there's nothing. And there's no power, and when there's no power, they can't do any business. It was a hard time, like for a lot of people in Zambia, especially for business owners, small business owners. A lot shut down. So interest grew from there. I went on ahead, and even I had to study climate change and just get to, so that I could understand more about it. And I found myself in spaces like this, like COP, to get to learn more, and also just to see how I can contribute to try and help my fellow activists back home, and also just around, and also just for those that may not really understand what's going on.
Hi, I'm Kate Warren, Executive Editor at Devex. If you are listening to this podcast, you are likely working to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. But are you subscribed to Devex Newswire? Global development can be a fast-moving, complex sector. Our team of global reporters work every day to bring you the news you need to make sense of it all. In Devex Newswire, we keep you up to date on issues ranging from climate change financing to gender equality and global health to transforming the food system, all in a fun-to-read, free newsletter delivered directly to you 5 days a week. Join the hundreds of thousands of global development professionals who receive Devex Newswire and visit devex.com/newsletters to sign up to this free newsletter today.
It seems like climate is an issue that really resonates with young people like yourself.
Exactly.
Why do you think that is, and why do you think young people are so willing to take action and move on it, and they're actually really energized?
Yeah, so Zambia, I will speak from my perspective from Zambia. Zambia is a young country. What I mean is, we have the most population is young people. So it's like, you understand as a young person, if you don't do anything today, because of us, you may have more days coming ahead of you. So if you don't do anything today, that will mean that every effect, every consequence, every damage, every negative effect that will come tomorrow will actually be able to come to you, and not just to you, also to the generation that you're going to bring. So I feel like young people are being affected the most, first of all, like in Zambia. First of all, that's like the biggest population. And also young people, and maybe not just also young people maybe, and women. I know the men will be like, oh, we are also people, why not, and so on. But these are like the most
disproportionately affected by climate
that
change.
is true. Yes, I agree with you, and I have receipts with that. I can actually defend that. So yeah, it's true, because and also maybe the fact that young people are affected the most. Me, I feel like we always talk about problems. I try to take things a little differently. Of course, the crisis is here, so what do we do next? We can actually talk, we'll always talk. The young people are always affected, the women are always affected, but what are we going to do as young people? So I think this is where I would say, as young people, I think this is a time that we really have to do what we can to just make sure that we take center stage. Because as young people, if the more that we're going to just sit down, I know it's, especially in our setup, in our countries, it's really hard for young people to just try and bring out their voices, and it's heard and it goes through.
I was actually going to ask you that next. Are your voices heard? I mean, there's this energy and there's this like activism, and it's like really building up, but do you feel like your voices are heard? Do you feel like your demands are heard? Do you think like leaders are taking this into consideration?
The last question that you've actually said, I feel like, are we being heard? We are. To what extent? Not, that's the question.
Yeah.
Also, are we being heard because we are supposed to be heard, or because they want to make us believe we're being heard? Also, that's also another aspect. So the thing is, I feel when it comes to issues of climate crisis, here is the thing. All of us have been affected, quite all right. Of course, the young people have been affected maybe the most, but you can imagine for the older generation, they have the experience, okay? They have the power, they have the money. And for the younger generation, there is time, there's energy, there's technology. So you can imagine these 6 things now coming together. You can imagine how much of an environment, how beautiful an environment such could be. But the unfortunate part is like we're having either the three, the energy, the time, and the technology working on its own. The experience, the power, the money working on its own, and maybe even trying to crash here and there. So if the two generations could get to be on the same table and have conversation, I think that's the most beautiful thing that could happen. And maybe we could actually solve a lot of problems just with that. But I have a problem. One problem that I have with a lot of leaders, I don't know, I don't want to specify regions, but this applies in most regions. I have a problem with a lot of leaders in that they can give us the table, okay, the table is here, they can invite the young people, oh, bring your chair, come to the table. But when you get to that table, they will actually tell you what to say. If you're going to represent, imagine.
Am I supposed to guess the region now?
I feel like you know what I'm talking about.
I feel like I might.
You know. So the thing is, like, you're not going to ask a young person to say, oh, we want to hear young people's voices. Come to the table. Let us reason together. Let us have conversations. And when they come there, they tell you what they want. Then when you want to send them out, you tell them what they should go and say out there, which still goes back to your own weights as leaders. So I think I know the experience here may be there, but I think it's high time that you may be also a little bit flexible, okay? Some of the techniques that may have worked 30 years ago may not work anymore today because a lot has changed. Look at just climate, what it has done today. There are a lot of things that cannot work anymore. So I think it's high time that there's nothing wrong in learning new ways. There's nothing wrong in trying out new innovations. They may come from the youngest person, even in age and all. But if it works well, if it's good for the environment, if it's good, it will do something good where you are. I mean, why not go for it? So I think when you bring in the young people on the table, allow them to actually to say what it may be not what you are thinking, but for as long as you've given them that privilege. If they mess it up, yeah, you can point out and say, okay, we gave you the chance, but why don't you allow them to make the mistakes? And maybe they may just do something that is right.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the criticisms of this COP in particular, right? It's the restrictions that have been placed on civil society, on like different voices. How do you feel about that, and how does it feel to sort of like operate and navigate within that space and with the restrictions that are placed? I mean, right now we are outside. I don't know if people can hear all the buzz around us and all, but we're outside simply because observers who are civil society are not allowed to access the media room, which could be interpreted as observers are not allowed to access the media. So how do you operate within that space?
It's quite frustrating. I feel like that's the reason why certain young people with the zeal that they may start with and so on, they get to just give up because they feel like your efforts are being frustrated. Okay, I know you're not supposed to give up. I know, like it's hard. Yes, like we have to push and all, but I feel like for as long as there's this all these, I don't know. I know maybe it's because you want to try and put what in one place, but it does not hurt sometimes to just be as flexible. I know maybe security. I don't know why, but the restrictions that I hear are just. I don't know the right way to use, but they're beyond.
Beyond?
They're beyond, and this can also go further in not just maybe just these like mere restrictions that were happening. What if actually they go beyond the young people that came with this zeal coming here to say we want to bring this out where we're going? What if they get here and they realize they actually don't have anywhere to say all those things that they actually came here for? So what does that mean? Wasted time.
Yeah.
You can imagine where, this is like in the midst of the climate crisis, and people have had to come from all around the corners of the world to come here and to do what?
Yeah.
You get?
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping by the time I know this is like, is it the third day? Second day?
Third day, yeah. Third day.
I'm hoping like by the time that we're done with next week, I really hope this won't just be one of those times that will be like, oh, we went and we met and yeah, we are back home. I was hoping, like before the COP27 even started, when I was having conversations around it, I was hoping like, because it's been talked about as the African COP, I have been hoping that it will really mean just that the words or the voices of Africans, like everyone that has come from elsewhere that maybe has not had a chance to be in a place that is affected the most with climate effects, will actually get not to feel, not just to hear about it, but they'll feel that, especially the world leaders, and that they would, going further, they would actually make right decisions from what's going on, other than it being like, oh, it's just a routine. Let's go, we meet, we have conversations, we argue amongst ourselves, we make pledges that we don't own, and let's go back home and get back to our luxurious lives and damage the environment even more. Next year we'll meet again, we'll make more pledges, and it's quite frustrating. I feel like it's really, personally, like on speaking as me personally, trust me, I would be okay if certain actions could actually be fined. Trust me, I would be. If there could be a climate crimes against climate fines, I would be fine with that, because I feel like I can say anything and nobody will want to nobody will like bring me to book because of the words that I said, the pledge that I made, because I needed to just say to shut you up.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to say, oh, I pledged to do this. I'm going to, as me and my family, we're going to try and reduce our emission to this level. But maybe the next time we meet, you'll find that it's even higher. Because I said it because I just wanted you to feel good. And I know you won't do anything about it. You won't bring me to book, you won't find me, you won't do anything. So I would personally be okay that if we even had a crimes against climate,
Crimes against the planet.
tribunal, I don't know, or something like that. Maybe that could
Could
work.
Well, like you said, this is day 3, so I'm hoping that you keep